See, if we underline the word art, everything tends to become an art ultimately. However, it isn't to be judged on platform of art. So one cannot say that one is more artistic than another. It is just that we are not probably able to take our work to that plane where it becomes worthy of art. That is what I have to say about this. So everything has the potential to take to art, to be taken to art, whether it is any material. So I as an architect, I see my responsibility to convert things which are there in the market for everyone. It's not that the market gives me something special and unique. I get to buy the same things which the other person gets to buy. Or we have clients who would be very similar to what other architects get or what other professionals get. So there's not much difference. The only difference is what you do to it, what you do to a material, what transformation happens to a material. That is where everything is involved. It is that transformation which is critical. And everything needs to be artistic. In fact, anything that is not artistic will take a back seat or will be superseded by something which is more artistic. India is going through, as a country, it is going through unforeseen transformation. Past 15 years have been very transformative, wherein we have lost a huge range of skills. Also, India had this system of providing skills by traditional system, which means that India is still a community-driven country, caste-driven country, and so on. So there were many castes who believed that it is their domain to do a certain thing, and they were learning it traditionally. So some castes were internally training themselves and providing that workforce. We are a country where now doing anything with hands is considered as as not something very great. So what has happened is that the traditional sources of skilled labor have suddenly vanished. I am facing a lot of problem individually where people with whom I started career, who earned and prospered working together with me, their own children have refused to join their work. The fact is that the craftsmanship in the country has taken a hit. Whether it is material or whether it is this material or that material, I see a complete collapse of craftsmanship. You'll be surprised to know that I consider ACP as a waterproof material. I see it as a material which is pre-painted material. I see it as a ready-to-use material, which means that when I use ACP, I can simply peel off this film and it is ready to show, as long as your cuts and joinery, everything is well coordinated. So recently I finished one false ceiling. The peeling is yet to be done because there is some work going on. Once I peel it, it will be ready. Because I'm now connecting my discussion with this issue, which is very pertinent, which you raised. If I had the option to make that false ceiling out of POP, plaster of Paris, which is a wet process here, the way we do it. I've done hundreds of false ceilings, but now I see that the fellow who started his career with me and who did excellent work 25 years ago is breathing high and low because he doesn't have a workforce which can deliver the results which I would accept, and he is helpless because he knows what kind of work I would prefer, or would like. So recently on one of the projects, the ceiling went bad and I was very disappointed. I realized that now even this craft is vanishing. So I thought, let me try a system in which there is minimum of human craftsmanship requirement. So I found a new way out, and that I implemented for kitchen making also. I used hollow aluminum tubes as the frame in the ceiling, and then I used ACP. Of course, all lights were planned, wiring was done, everything was there. So ACP, I knew how ACP can be handled, so router is there to handle that. So we could give those slanted angles. We could not curve it because curving would have probably demanded some more equipment, which I cannot arrange for such a small work. But then whatever I could do without this wet process, where the POP ceiling will demand a scaffolding, and it will create at least 20% waste. That material will have to be cleaned, thrown somewhere. Now those problems have started picking up. Where do you throw the waste? There is no place. Any kind of waste for that matter, whether ACP waste or. So these have become really burning issues. So we used aluminum tubes, and then for fixing the ACP horizontally, normally you use ACP vertically. I used double-sided tape, I used silicone to hold it, and I inserted screws, and the location of screws had to be coordinated with the grooves that I planned deliberately, so that I can screw in between and those screws are not visible. I would like to say is that fire resistance and fire safety needs a complete overhaul of the basket of materials that go into the making of buildings. And that means a complete new understanding of what goes into the making of buildings. And it will require a new way of doing work with those materials which promote fire safety. Let's beat the fire.